Louie T. Welcome to this quick Louie T live week 2 preseason breakdown. Wanted to kind of run down the games. I told you once I finally got through with the draft wrap-up series that I would actually be able to indulge in all of this preseason football that we're getting. Some of it is trash. Some of it is actually beneficial. And so we'll sort through all the games quickly, including the one tonight, Colts and Ravens. Pretty much got all of the first half action there, scooped that up, and I'll talk about that one as well. Matter of fact, we'll get to that one first. But before we do, want to give you guys a very, very quick side note. Tomorrow, we're going to start the draft, or excuse me, the divisional breakdowns. And I have the full schedule done. There'll be a video being released tomorrow for that. But just in case you're watching, now you'll know in advance that tomorrow we will start the series, 8 o'clock p.m., starting with the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles and the NFC East. And you know, here on the Louie T Network, we let the losers worry about losing, and we talk about winners first. And so we'll go in the order of the teams the way that they were able to survive in the postseason. So hence, the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Their division goes first. The Patriots were your runner-up. They'll be the second division that we break down in the AFC East. So forth and so forth. And so I'll give you the full breakdown of the dates and the times and how we'll get through all of these divisions. Now, I kind of wanted to wait. You know, everyone was doing theirs a little earlier. Kind of wanted to see how these injuries would unfold and also kind of get a feel for these teams as we watch some of these players get an opportunity on the football field and kind of get our palate wet as to what we can expect from these teams moving forward. So that being said, we're going into the third preseason week, which is the dress rehearsal. So I expect us to really be able to see from most of these teams. I don't know if we'll see a lot of the Patriots starters as Bill Belichick, I think, pulled a Bill Belichickian type of move by playing his starters essentially the entire first half. I surmise that we won't see a lot of Tom Brady in the third preseason game like some of these other teams. I think they played their third preseason game last week versus the Philadelphia Eagles, but we'll talk about that when we get to that game. But in any event, tomorrow we'll start those division breakdowns. We'll start with the NFC East. We'll have phone lines open. We'll have Twitter open. We'll have the whole shebang. So join me at 8 p.m. as we'll jump into the divisional breakdowns starting tomorrow night. And again, I'll have the full schedule breakdown for those for those divisional breakdowns tomorrow. There'll be a quick video that will notify everyone of all the times so you can mark your calendar as to when you can expect to see your team and their respective division. So that being said, let's run through these games quickly. Let's start with the game tonight, Ravens at Colts. The biggest thing for me coming into this game was wanted to see Andrew Luck. Wanted to see from Andrew Luck him throw the football down the field, him push the football vertically, him throw it to the outer hashes, him throw it on the deep comeback on the sideline 20 yards down the field. And we didn't see that again. Again, all of his throws, as they highlighted during the halftime show, Louis Riddick, I thought, did a beautiful job of highlighting that all of his throws were pretty much in the middle of the football field, in between the numbers, quick throws. No throw was further than 15 yards down the field. And so they're still kind of bringing him along slowly. At some point, they're going to have to cut him loose. Maybe they won't do that until the regular season gets here. And again, Frank Wright knows what's going on. He's seeing Andrew Luck every single day. They don't want to push this guy too quickly and have a setback. So we're just going to have to wait. And we're going to have to see if Andrew Luck is able to do the things that we are accustomed to seeing Andrew Luck do. We did not see that tonight again. Aside from that, I look at the Colts roster and I still feel like they're a ways away in terms of offensive talent. You look around that football team, and I know some guys didn't play, including T.Y. Hilton didn't play tonight, but it sucks that they had the injury to Deion Kane because I thought he could have really come in and helped. They really still lack huge firepower on the offensive side of the football. No Marlon Mack. I'm still waiting for them to turn Nyheim Hines loose. So I still think they've got quite a ways to go. They don't have a feature back right now because Marlon Mack is injured. So I wasn't really too impressed with what I saw from them on the offensive side of the football. Defensively, they seem to be playing with a little bit more spunk and spark. We'll see how that lasts throughout the course of the season. But meanwhile, you look at the Ravens side of things, and I told you, for those of you who haven't been listening to my podcast, I really expect big things from the AFC North this season. I think they're going to be one of the better divisions in all of football. I think the Ravens are going to be back. You know, I'm a Joe Flacco apologist, and so I know Jalen Ramsey killed Joe Flacco in his GQ article, and that's cool. And everybody else can pile on, and it's fair. Joe Flacco's numbers are not, I repeat, are not the healthiest, and they actually are grotesque at times. That's fine, but Joe's still my guy, and he hasn't had weapons, and I'm telling you right now, he's going to ball this year because he's finally got a supporting cast that suggests that he can ball. And so we got to see Krabs catch it down the sideline in the honey hole in cover 2 coverage. We got to see them stretch it vertical with John Brown. Didn't complete the pass, but the fact that they're throwing it down the field and have a guy to actually get it to that can stretch the defense that isn't named Bashad Perriman feels damn good in Baltimore. As a matter of fact, it felt damn good to not see Bashad Perriman on the field tonight trying to catch the football. That shows you that they don't need him in his services any longer. Felt good to see them have all these different targets, and they didn't even use the tight ends really with the first team offense. They spread it around to the wide receivers and all the new targets that they have out there. We saw Willie Snead get a catch, so there's a lot to really like about this Ravens offense, and they ran it good tonight as well. So really impressed there. Defensively, they're solid. I thought that the corner that got hurt that they got out of Temple looked really good tonight. They're coming along. They're going to be a really good team, I think, this year. I think the Ravens are one of those scary teams under the radar as we head into 2018. You go to the next game, Jets-Redskins. Quickly want to gloss over this game. Wasn't a lot of firepower here on the Redskins side of things. Thought the defensive line looked good. They did some good things. Obviously, Daron Payne getting his first taste of NFL action, getting a sack on his first third down. That was a sight for sore eyes. You look at the Redskin offense. Alex Smith was his first action as a Washington Redskin. Thought he looked sharp in his only drive of the game. So Redskins have been knocked in the past under Jay Gruden for not playing their starters enough. This is another preseason where not a lot of guys that are starters are getting reps, but can't blame them with all the injuries the Redskins have incurred already in this young preseason. I think it's pretty safe to say that the Redskins may get a half out of their starters in preseason game number 3. It wouldn't shock me if they looked good early that you only got a quarter and maybe some change out of those guys, if that. But you go to the other side, the big attraction here was the Jets, and more specifically, Sam Darnold thought he was actually really good in his few possessions that he was on the field. Did have an interception. I didn't mind the interception because it was 4th down. I mean, what are you going to do? Throw it away? I actually heard one of the commentators say, throw it away, live to fight another day. Hey, there's not another down, brother. Okay? There isn't another down. There isn't another play. It's 4th down. Either you complete this pass or you get nothing. And so he had to do something. He forced it. It got tipped. He didn't see the safety. I didn't have a problem with it because, again, it was 4th down. So I thought he actually looked good. I thought he made good decisions. I thought he ate it when he had to eat it. I thought he got out of the pocket. Sam Darnold is one of the most impressive quarterbacks I saw in this particular draft class on the move outside the pocket, and he showed some of those skills in the game versus the Redskins. So I actually think Sam Darnold is well on his way to being the Week 1 starter for the New York Jets, if you ask me. You go to the Patriots and the Eagles. This game was actually a game for the first half. Tom Brady and the New England Patriots offense on the field the entire first half. That was the storyline there. There were some big injuries to come out of this game. One, not so big. The other, catastrophic. We'll talk about those here in a second. But Tom Brady looked like Tom Brady looked to be in midseason form after not playing in Week 1 versus the Redskins in the preseason. He came out and balled in Tom Brady-like fashion. And they went up and down the field, had a nice 2-minute drive to end the half. Brady was exceptional. They scored on about 2 or 3 possessions in the first half. They looked sharp. You go to the Eagles side of things. They didn't look as sharp. They had an injury to Nicholas Foles in the game. Obviously, they've got a number of starters out too, so that did impact them. But nonetheless, Nicholas Foles injured himself. The throwing shoulder was injured, hit as he was trying to throw the football, fumbled, scoop and score for the Patriots. Luckily enough, there, not any serious damage. Looks like he's going to be just fine. They could not afford another injury at the quarterback position. Remember, they still have Carson Wentz on the mend. I think he's going to be ready sooner rather than later, but he may not be ready for week 1 or 2 to start the season. You need Nicholas Foles to at least get you through the first couple of weeks until Wentz is ready to go. Heard a report today that he is now participating in 11-on-11 drills. Still can't participate in any contact drills, but then again, when does a quarterback ever get hit in practice? Anyway, nonetheless, you go to Steelers and Packers. I looked at that football game, and I said to myself, wow, Aaron Rodgers didn't play in week 1. He played in week 2, and he looked damn good. You look at the Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger still a no-show, and they did this last year, and we get it. We don't need to see Ben Roethlisberger, and I thought the backups actually played really well for the Steelers, and so there was a bunch of points scored in that football game on both sides. And so it's rare to see 50 points put up in a preseason game, but that's what we got in this particular game. But it was a fun game to watch, but keep it in perspective. It's the preseason. You go to Chiefs and Falcons. This was an intriguing game. Obviously, the biggest highlight to come out of the game is Patrick Mahomes launching the football literally like 63 yards in the air. It was ridiculous because if you watch the particular play that this happened on, he's not like standing in the pocket with a great base and then loading up. This guy's maneuvering in the pocket and then he just lets it rip. Like he's not even set. So to launch it the way that he did in the manner that he did was just impressive. But we know the guy can sling it. But that was, and it's so fun when a quarterback gives a guy with pure unadulterated speed a chance to run under the football like Tyreek Hill. Tyreek's a freak, and you saw it on that play running by 2 Atlanta Falcon defenders right before the half. And really, if not for that play, the Chiefs were silenced in that first half by that Falcons defense. Give credit to that Falcons defense for playing good ball until that one play that they give up right before the half. But you flip side it to the Falcons offense, and I thought that they looked good. Remember, they were shut out, and they were not happy, especially head coach Dan Quinn, not happy about the performance versus the Jets in week 1. They lost 17-0. They come back. Thought they looked good early and often. Matt Ryan was sharp, and I like the fact that they got the young fella Calvin Ridley involved. He had a touchdown grab in this football game, so good to see them spreading the football around. I thought they ran it well, and they didn't even have Julio Jones nor Devontae Freeman playing. Tevin Coleman looked good early on, and then they got some of the other guys like Ito Smith some touches, and they moved the football down the field and they got in the end zone. So thought it was a good showing and a good bounce back for the Falcons in their second preseason game. You go to Giants versus the Lions. This game, not a lot here. I thought the Lions looked really pedestrian on offense. Meanwhile, the Giants didn't feature Eli Manning nor Saquon Barkley or Odell Beckham Jr., so wasn't a lot to see on their side of things. The only thing you were really looking at with them was, hey, let's take a look at these backup quarterbacks. I actually thought both of them fared well in their own way. Lauletta using his legs, and I actually thought that the backup quarterback, Davis Webb, who they drafted last year, looked really good. And so that's some intriguing stuff going on behind Eli Manning in New York. Nonetheless, that was not a game that you could really gather a lot from, although the Lions did play Matthew Stafford for the first time this year, and he did not look very sharp. Browns, Bills, this game had a major injury in it. A.J. McCarron finally getting a chance to start in that three-way quarterback battle in Buffalo. He goes down to an injury. We initially thought that it was going to be a collarbone injury and a fractured collarbone. It turned out not to be. He's going to return to practice at some point. They're hoping this week to get back into that QB race. We heard today that Josh Allen is going to get the start in the third preseason game. The Bills have said, look, that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean he's starting week 1. But a lot of people think that means he's going to start week 1, including myself. I hope that is not the case. I thought Nathan Peterman looked good in this game. And again, it was against the third stringers just about, but it doesn't matter. I thought that he looked good in this game. And I thought he looked good against Carolina in week 1. And worst case scenario, I'd like to see it, if not A.J. McCarron, which we're not going to get to see a lot of McCarron, I guess, because of the injury, at least give Nathan Peterman a shot. I really don't think Josh Allen is ready to go yet. But if you got to, if you feel like he's ready and you're gonna throw him out there, I guess. But we'll see what happens in this third preseason game. This will tell us a lot about where Josh Allen is. They're gonna actually give them a small little game plan to digest. We'll see how he does with that and how he executes, and we'll see if he's able to make some plays to help his team and potentially put himself in the driver's seat to win the job in Buffalo. But you go to the Brown side of things. Another sharp performance by the first team offense. Tyrod Taylor and that group moved the football down the field, get it into the end zone. I thought Nick Chubb looked good in some of his touches early in this football game. Obviously, Carlos Hyde was the main attraction early in this football game, touching it often. Jarvis Landry with a big block to help spring Carlos Hyde into the end zone. Hyde with a nice run with a stiff arm getting outside. So they did some really good things. Tyrod Taylor on some bootlegs getting the football to the tight end. So I thought they did some really good things offensively, moved it down the field, got into the end zone. I thought the defense harassed A.J. McCarron and ultimately knocked him out of the game. I think the Bills have some issues up front along the offensive line right now that they'll have to iron out if they're going to protect whomever is at quarterback. So I thought the Browns did a great job of just harassing them, bottling up Shady McCoy, and really making it tough on the Bills when they had their starters out there on the field. Dolphins, Panthers. With the Dolphins, Tannehill really dink and dunked. I mean, when you have 17 throws, 14 of which you complete, and you only have 100 yards to show for it, that tells you all you need to know about yards per attempt and just what they were doing. Now, they did speed up the tempo in that game, and that was good to see that, Tannehill's getting a good grasp of the offense, able to get to the line of scrimmage and speed up the tempo, and that's what Adam Gase wants to do. Quick in and out of the huddle, if they even huddle up. In the case of this particular game, wasn't a lot of huddling going on. They were getting to the line of scrimmage, and he was barking out orders, was Tannehill. So very efficient, but again, not a lot of yards after catch, not a lot of chunk plays. So that's something that you want to see from them moving forward. But the backs got involved. They caught it out of the backfield. Tannehill was sharp underneath. Want to see him be able to push the football down the field, though. You look at the Panthers. Their preseasons are never good, especially with the first team offense. Last year, I had a whole little breakdown of one of their games, and I talked about how bad Cam Newton looked, and maybe they were in trouble. I don't put too much into the stock of a Panthers preseason game because Cam Newton never looks good in the preseason. Had a nasty interception in this game where I don't know what he was looking at. But again, once the regular season comes on and the lights turn on, the Panthers will be just fine. So not a great showing by the Panthers. Christian McCaffrey had a hell of a game. Obviously, the 71-yard touchdown run was the highlight of the game for him, but he just continues to be a dynamic threat out of the backfield, catching it, running it, you name it, he does it for that offense. And I also was impressed, and I told people that this was a steal in the fourth round, but Thomas out of Indiana, the tight end, caught a nice touchdown on a catch and run where he just smoked everybody. And he's got that kind of ability. He's going to be a huge upgrade over Dixon, who's moved on to Seattle, and still having Grego in that offense. Grego! And adding a guy like Thomas to the mix. That's going to be a nasty 1-2 punch in Carolina at the tight end position as we move on to the Cardinals and the Saints. This was one of those games, too. Really not a lot to take from this game. No Drew Brees in this game. So what I did gather from no Drew Brees is, man, your quarterback situation stinks after Drew Brees. God forbid anything happened to him because the quarterback out of BYU, boy, does he stink, man. He is some kind of funky. Ball was going all over the place, missing open receivers. Taysom Hill is his name, and boy, does Taysom Hill need to just play special teams. In any event, that's not a good look in New Orleans there. But there was some good ground game with Ingram. Sucks he's going to miss the first 4 games of the season. No Alvin Kamara in this game. So it was limited as to what you got from the Saints in terms of the players playing in the game. You flip side and then go to their defense. Thought the defense was solid, but give some credit to the Cardinals offense. There were some turnovers. It was a sloppy game. Okay, turnovers galore. I was really impressed with Josh Rosen. There's only a matter of time before he gets on the field in Arizona. Obviously, they're going to start Sam Bradford, and that's the right thing to do. But it's only a matter of time before, 1, Sam Bradford gets injured, or 2, Josh Rosen just proves to be the better guy and they want to get him on the field. But he took them down the field and made a great play on a third down where he steps up in the pocket, eludes the rush, and buys time and finds the receiver in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. Josh Rosen just has the poise you're looking for, and he's going to be a player in this league if they can protect him. And so we go to Jags Vikings. Really bad game for Blake Bortles. They did finally get it clicking later on in the second quarter as they were able to put together a touchdown drive that was capped off on a fourth down conversion by Leonard Fournette. But Blake Bortles struggled. Should have thrown 2 picks. Threw one right into the chest of Mackenzie Alexander, who got injured in this game and did not return. But he didn't catch that. He didn't get away the second time, though, as Harrison Smith was able to pick him off. 2 fumbles by running back Latavius Murray. One recovered by the Vikings. The other recovered by the Jaguars and Calais Campbell. And that was right after the Harrison Smith interception. So this was a sloppy game as well. For all of the hoopla and the excitement of Kirk Cousins and that offense in Week 1 versus the Denver Broncos, they were the polar opposite in this game. Kirk Cousins was very erratic. No time to throw the football, under duress for much of this game, was sacked by Ngakoue, who's just turning out to be a freak off the edge for Jacksonville. He had 3 attempts at the receiver out of Mankato State. You know who I'm talking about, the white boy that can ball. And then he had another one to Diggs. No completions to either of those guys. Kirk had a rough go of it. And it was a rough day in general for the Vikings. Offensively, defensively, they did some good things in this game, including forcing some turnovers. But nonetheless, both teams struggled mightily to protect the football. Both teams struggled to do some of the little things correct. But at the end of the day, it's the preseason. These things happen. Raiders, Rams, this is the one game I really don't have anything to say about because these two teams play in Week 1. And I don't understand why the NFL does this, where they schedule. This should have been the Week 4 preseason game. Both teams are in the Bay Area. That would have been fine. They didn't have to play each other's starters or whatever. To do this in Week 2, they don't want to show their hand, so neither team played any players of note. There's nothing really to talk about here with this game. Bengals, Cowboys. Andy Dalton was very, very rusty in this game. Missed A.J. Green a couple of times on some plays where you just can't afford to miss. And I thought that the defensive line looked good for the Cincinnati Bengals. They did give up some runs to Rod Smith in this game, but I thought Andrew Billings looked really good. I saw him beat Connor Williams, the rookie guard, a couple of times across his face, including once almost getting a safety. I saw Geno Smith push him back into the quarterback on the first snap of the game. So I thought the defensive line for the Bengals did some good things. They were flying around out there crazy because after the game, George Iloka was cut. And to watch him out there, running around doing things and then to see him get cut, that was baffling. But nonetheless, the Cowboys offensively did some good things. Dak moved the football, did some good things with his legs, extended some plays. And I'll tell you what, a guy that is super impressive right now, 2 guys actually, one on the defensive side, one on the offensive side. On the offensive side, God damn it, that receiver, Michael Gallup, out of Colorado State, is catching everything. Guys are draped on him. He doesn't care. He's catching the football. He's going to be a player for them. And then you look at the defensive side of the football, Jalen Smith is starting to get back to 100%. And if he gets back to anywhere near where he was at Notre Dame, look out. They could have themselves one hell of a linebacking core in Big D when they get Leighton Vander Esch up to speed and healthy. So Jalen Smith looks good. And I thought they did some good things, did the Cowboys, including forcing a fumble of Tyler Boyd and recovering it. That was a game where I thought both offenses left some things on the table, but I thought Cincinnati's offense did more so than Dallas's. You go to the Buccaneers and the Titans. First thing first, do you like the Titans' new uniforms? I'm not sure. I still need to see them a couple more times. I don't know. They got to grow on me. I thought I was going to be impressed because I love the helmet. I'm not so sure if I love the uniforms. I got to see the roadies, and I need to see the alternates and maybe I'll feel differently, and maybe I just need to see it a couple more times. But I wasn't as impressed as I thought I was going to be. That being said, I thought that the Titans did some good things on offense. Obviously, the wide receiver screen to Tywan Taylor for the touchdown was the highlight of them offensively. They're going to do some really good things this year under new head coach Mike Vrabel, and they're going to do some great things on offense because of the guy they got pulling the strings as their offensive coordinator in Matt LaFleur. I know him all too well. Again, he used to be in Washington for a few years with Sean McVay. Then they both moved on to L.A. We know what McVay is about. It was so good to see the running back from New England, Dion Lewis, catch the football out of the backfield. He is going to help Marcus Mariota in ways you can't even imagine. I surmise that Marcus Mariota's completion percentage is going to go through the roof this year. I don't know where he was last year. Let's just throw out an arbitrary number. I can't confirm nor deny this right now, but let's just say he was at 64% last year. He's going to be up around 68, 69 this year because of Dion Lewis. If he can stay healthy, Dion Lewis is going to have 40 to 60 catches, somewhere in that neighborhood this year, and it's going to be some big-time dump downs where this guy's making plays after the catch. He had a catch over the middle where he broke off the linebacker. I want to say it was Levante David. Just broke that man down. All right, then caught it, made two more linebackers miss, and picked up an additional 8 yards before fumbling out of bounds. That's the ability that he brings to the table. That offense is going to be fun to watch this year with the addition of Matt LaFleur as the offensive coordinator, but guys like Dion Lewis and some of the young guys getting more experience and being more comfortable in their skin in the league. You look at the Bucs, they're just hard to watch right now because there's no Jameis Winston. They had him playing with the second unit. He carved the second and third team units up. Meanwhile, 50-50 was struggling. 50-50 looked garbage. Missed Deshaun Jackson on the deep ball. It's what you expect. They're going to struggle out of the gate with 50-50 at quarterback. All of that hoopla and nonsense about Jameis potentially not starting when he comes back. Yeah, right. They don't stand a chance without Jameis Winston. As we move on to the 49ers and Texans, look, the Jimmy G hype train is legit. That shit is in full motion, and it is warranted. Jimmy G looked good, and I know he threw a pick, and you could partially put that on the receiver, letting the football go through his hands. Damn, he looked good in this game. That first deep ball down the sideline, the good one. Man, I watched so many games today, and so many quarterbacks missed those opportunities, i.e. Andy Dalton. And to see him hit it, I'm like, wow, this guy. And he didn't miss. You know, and he's so calm. He's so cool. You can tell he played with Tom Brady. He's just so calm and cool and collected. You know, pressure around him, he just steps up gradually and climbs the pocket and makes the throw. He spread it around. Pierre Garçon had a nice touchdown to Trent Taylor in the back of the end zone. He hit Garçon. Good to see him back in the swing of things. I talked about Goodwin and his contribution. They're trying to work in the Washington receiver that they drafted in the second round. They're going to be scary. And if Jimmy G continues to develop, man, that's legit. I don't know what they're going to do at running back. Obviously, Jerick McKinnon is a huge part of what they want to do in the backfield. He's got to get healthy. But tell you what, Jimmy G is legit, folks. That's my guy. And Jimmy G right now is living up to the hype. You go to the Texans. I thought that Deshaun Watson was just equally as impressive. There was a scary moment in that game with the injury on the. I want to say the first possession of the game. Johnson goes down, the cornerback that they were really hoping that they could get some. That was a nasty concussion. You know, head hit the ground. The commentators were focused on his arm, and that was a nasty position to put his arm in. But his head hit the ground on impact, and he was out. And it was a scary moment. They thought they were going to have to bring the stretcher out for him. Excuse me. Luckily enough, they did not have to do that, and he was able to get up on his own power. But that was a nasty concussion for a guy that has already had concussions throughout his career. That is not a good sign. In any event, Deshaun Watson took those boys right down the offense, down the field and into the end zone. Boy, does he look good. He looks to be in midseason form as well. Those are going to be two young quarterbacks, two young teams that I think if they can stay healthy on both sides of the football, especially on the offensive sides, look out for those two teams and those young quarterbacks They were on display, and that was a fun first quarter to watch with those two teams pretty much dueling it out. Bears and Broncos. I'm not sure if the Broncos have solved their quarterback situation. I'm not sure if Case Keenum is the guy that they saw last year. He's still, I say this all the time, he's Case Keenum. And I'm listening to guys like E-Man saying, Emmanuel Sanders, kind of talk him up and say, look, this guy's going to come around. Trust me, we've seen it in practice all year. I'm just telling you from watching the first two preseason games, not impressed. You know, missed a ton of throws. I've been more impressed with Kelly, their backup, you know, out of Ole Miss. That's in his second year. Chad Kelly has been lightening up, and to the point where he's now the second quarterback on the depth chart. He's not going to surpass Case Keenum. They believe in Case Keenum, and he may come around. But I'm just telling you, the first two preseason games, he's not on the same page with his receivers right now. Chad Kelly came in and looked good, but they've got some things to iron out in Denver with the quarterback position because he missed some throws that you got to make, and everything was high with Case Keenum. He's got to bring the football down, but they ultimately were able to get into the end zone via a huge pass interference penalty, threw it up to the second-round rookie out of SMU, Cortland Sutton, and they called PI, brought the football all the way down to about the 2-yard line. They were able to get it in with a run from the Oregon back, and then they were able to complete a 2-point conversion. So Keenum ended on a good note, but he missed some throws that he's going to have to hit once the regular season gets here if they want to be competitive. I felt like the Bears, they got a long way to go too. Mitchell Trubisky, I thought he was flustered in this game, had a snap go through his hands for a safety. He's got a long ways to go. I can tell you this much, though. Trey Burton is going to be a huge part of that offense. He looked damn good in this game, and they are making a concerted and conscious effort to get him the football. I feel like he's going to be their Travis Kelce. Remember, their head coach came from Kansas City, and I think he's going to feature Trey Burton, and I think that's why they paid him that money to come over and be their Travis Kelce. And right now, he's looking like a guy that's going to deliver as a guy that can be a big-time playmaker for them in that offense at the tight end position, as long as he's able to stay healthy. So he was one of the bright spots in this football game from them. But they also had an injury in this game. Seems like Leonard Floyd just can't stay healthy. Seems to have done something to his hand. But they think he's going to be ready for week 1. Also, Adam Shaheen, their big tight end out of Ashland, he hurt his ankle, had to be carted off. They're hoping he can be ready for week 1. I'm not so sure about those guys, but we'll see what happens as we round out week 2's preseason games with Seahawks and Chargers. Good to see Mike Williams, and I shouldn't start with this because this happened with the backups in the game, but I don't care. Good to see Mike Williams putting his nutsack on somebody's helmet and going and get the football, which is what they drafted him to do out of Clemson. I told you, once this guy's healthy, he's going to provide something for them. Phillip Rivers was just in midseason form, running around, doing crazy shit as only Phillip Rivers can, throwing across his body, wheeling and dealing, throwing it up to Williams and allowing him to go get the football. Phillip Rivers was out there having fun. And so I'm going to tell you right now, the AFC West is wide open. The Chargers got to be the favorite to win that division. They've got to be the favorite. I'm watching them. I'm impressed. Speaking of which, the Seahawks offensive line is a sieve. That's going to be the undoing of that offense. It's been that way for the longest, but now the defense isn't good enough to bail them out anymore. So they're in trouble. I already told you on the podcast, I don't think the Seahawks are going to be a very good football team this year. If they are, they're going to surprise the hell out of me because I don't think the defense is what they once were. I don't think the offense is good enough to keep this team afloat while the defense tries to figure it out. And so Russell Wilson was running around. They had pressure on him, which this is a really good Chargers defense. So I don't want to make it seem as if they were out there getting pressured by a bunch of bums. That's one of the best pass rushes in all of football. But yet they couldn't protect any of their quarterbacks. All of them were under duress, including Russell Wilson. The defense was having trouble stopping Phillip Rivers. Now, Phillip Rivers was making some extraordinary plays. Don't get it twisted. But also, they were able to run the football where the Chargers, I just don't like what I see out of Seattle right now. And vice versa. I think the Chargers are a dangerous team. And they got a punt return from a guy that is looking to make that roster. Look out for the Chargers, man. They're doing some good things quietly. I want to watch more. I'll be interested to see what they look like in week 3 of the preseason. They'll be one of those teams I focus in on because I got high hopes for the Chargers this year. They seem like they got their kicking situation squared away. Both teams in that game seemed like they may have found kickers. The Seahawks got 2 kickers out there, Myers and Sebastian Janikowski. I think they're going to keep Seabass when it's all said and done, but both of those guys look like they can kick the football. So good to see both of those teams may have found answers in their kicking game. We'll see how that goes. But that's my week 2 preseason rundown. Get to any comments quickly if there are any out there, and get out of here real quick. I don't want to make this too long, so I'll only take ones that are pertinent. Let's see. I already talked about that, JP. I think we might see, we're definitely going to get at least a quarter. It may be a half, depending on how well they play. What up, Ree? Aldine Adkins says, my Vikings DB group is dangerous. Mac Alexander had another good game, but tweaked something. Hughes, I saw him get beat down the sideline. It was a bad ball by Blake Bortles. Got beat on a little bit of a double move. If that's a good ball, that's a touchdown. Mac Alexander, I'm not a fan. He can't catch. Claps in a whorehouse. But he's usually around the football. I can say that much. But he did tweak something and did not come back in the football game. See, KC says, how do you feel about Nate Sudfeld? As a Redskin fan, I thought he had some potential. You know, I thought he did some good things for us while he was in Washington. Never really got the opportunity, obviously, as a late round draft pick, and Kirk Cousins was an Iron Man for the Redskins, so he never got a chance to see the field. But I thought he had potential to be at least a backup in this league. I don't think he's a starter in this league, but he's a big kid, got a solid arm. And so he's getting an opportunity in Philadelphia to get some reps in the preseason, and he's making the most of it. So we'll see what he's able to do as he continues to get more opportunities. He's gonna have a job in this league as a backup somewhere with the tape that he's putting on. That's for sure. King Joffrey Joe says Bucks play the Saints, Eagles, and Steelers in their first 3 games out of the gate. Yeah, that's gonna be a tough uphill battle to climb. For sure, without Jameis. Cloud says the Patriots wanted revenge. Yeah, they did. It's almost, I don't know if necessarily it was a revenge thing. They had a point to prove, but I think also they used that game as their week 3 preseason game. Watch what I tell you. I bet you any amount of money. I probably shouldn't do that because I think I know and then I don't know with Bill Belichick. But if I'm getting into the mind of the mad scientist, I bet you he took the time to make preseason game number 2 versus the Eagles his preseason game number 3, and it wouldn't shock me if we got the starters for 1 or 2 series and then we didn't see any more of those guys. It wouldn't shock me. Archangel says KC quarterback looked pretty good. I gotta admit, he was okay. I didn't think he was great. You know, he struggled all first half until that deep ball. Now that deep ball there, boy, that was ridiculous. But he still got some work to do himself. Double A says AD is going to need 18 to 23 touches a game, but he can definitely break a G. He's still in insane shape. Yep. I don't know if he'll get 18 to 23 touches a game, but I'd like to see him break a G for us for sure. Reese says, we talked about this, Lou. Josh Allen has to be the guy. This isn't 1998. If they thought he wouldn't be ready, they shouldn't have taken him. Reed, not everyone is ready to go right out the gates. We've had this conversation before. Not all quarterbacks, not all players are created equal. Some guys come out of the packaging, out of college football, ready to go. You come and you get them out of the draft, you unwrap that package, and those guys are ready to go. And then others need time, and I think he's one of those guys that just needs a little bit of time. But we'll see. Cloud says AP is done, in my opinion. He'll have to be the bell cow to be really effective. I think him not being a guy that gets it 20 times a game will make him, because again, he's 33 years old. So that will help him get through the entire season. Yes, he's in great shape, but he's not an Iron Man. I think the fact that we've got all these other guys in the backfield, that will help him stay for the long run in the 2018 season. We'll see what happens. Lorenzo Simpson says Redskins can have a top 5 defense if they stay healthy. I would pump my brakes on that. Let's go top half of the league first before we jump into the top 5, and then let's talk top 10 before we jump into the top 5. We'll see what happens. All right. Reese says, I heard the Bucs may have some interest in George Iloka. We did this veteran safety thing with T.J. Ward last year. Except that this guy is got his best football ahead of him potentially. I think we know what he is as a football player, which is why the Bengals were comfortable releasing him. It was a money thing. Obviously, the Bengals are one of the cheaper teams in the league, so if they felt like they could cut bait with a guy that was probably owed some money and they could save some money, then that's what they elected to do. But he's a young guy. This is only his second contract that he's on. This will be his third when he signs with another team, but he was in the midst of his second contract. And he's a relatively young player. He's a good football player. I don't think he'll ever be a great football player, but you know what you're getting. He's big, he's long, he paws, and he's athletic, and he can do some things. And so I wouldn't mind the Buccaneers. This isn't like T.J. Ward where you're getting an aging veteran on the back end of his career. You're getting a guy that is still in the prime of his career, and so that I wouldn't mind that at all. JP says, do you see Julio Jones as being a mentor to Calvin Ridley? Of course. They both went to Alabama. You could see Julio coaching him up on the sidelines. I watched, like I said, I watched all of these games. Like, I didn't just watch highlights. I watched all of these games. And Calvin Ridley had a play where he didn't cut up the field on a catch. And so Julio gets to the sideline. Julio Jones is telling him, you know, what he was supposed to do on the play, and he's coaching him up. And the entire time he was on the sidelines until he went back in the game, Julio's in his ear. So, absolutely, I think he's going to be a mentor for him. Rodney Ray says, the Titans helmets are nice. The unis are meh. I feel the same way. Okay, I thought I was crazy for a second. I feel the exact same way. The helmets are dope. I look at the uniforms and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Didn't quite expect that after looking at the helmets. So maybe they just have to grow on me, and I'll see them a couple of times and I'm like, okay, I really like the uniforms. You know, Nike's always trying to be different, so we'll see. Maybe they have to grow on me. Eagle Speed says, are the Eagles going to have a Super Bowl hangover? We'll see. You know, it could happen. Obviously, the health of Carson Wentz is going to go a long way in determining how good the Eagles are this year. I feel like if they can stay relatively healthy, they're going to be just fine. They're a good football team with a ton of depth. Reese says, Fitz looked like crap in the preseason last year, too, and then went 2-1 in 3 games. You're right. And so sometimes you can't put that kind of stock into the preseason, but you heard the schedule. You know, you got the Saints, you got the Steelers, and there's one more team in there that's actually really good that you have to play. We'll see what happens. Maybe he comes out firing on all cylinders, and all of a sudden you win 2 out of those 3 games again. We'll see. Reese says, you praise Roberto Aguayo, Lou. Hey, look, man, maybe he just needed a change of scenery. Maybe him being a second-round pick that the Bucs traded up to draft in the second round was too much pressure for the GOAT. Maybe him getting a change of scenery is what the guy needs. We'll see. Look, I never liked his leg in terms of him kicking 54-yard kicks and things of that nature. He was never a great 50-plus yard kicker. He set the record in college football at Florida State, kicking a bunch of short to intermediate field goals. If he can just do that in this league, if he can just kick the 48s and down, he'll be fine. That's what the Chargers need. They need a guy that can be consistent for them. And if he can do that, fine. If he can't, take one of the Seahawks kickers. Both of them look like they can kick the football through the uprights. Take one of those guys. Make sure you're using the hashtag LouieTLive if you want me to read your comments. BE asked me my thoughts on the Cardinals. I don't know if you heard me talk about the Cardinals, but Josh Rosen looks really good. It was good to see your first round pick last year in the draft get a pick, you know, on a tip ball. But Josh Rosen was the story for me. Man, does he look good. It's only a matter of time before he starts. He looks really, really good. Let's see. Caesar Augustus says, do you think the Vikings need to make trades in order to address their offensive line? They got to do something. Their line, and maybe they just need to get healthy, but their line, Kirk Cousins was under duress constantly, and that he was never comfortable. A lot of those balls sailed because he didn't have time. And I can tell you from firsthand experience with Kirk Cousins, he's not going to run unless he absolutely has to. And he's going to have space. He's not a guy that's going to create when nothing's there. You have to protect Kirk Cousins if you want to maximize his skill set. So I don't know if something has to be done yet, but you're getting close to pushing the panic button because the offensive line was not good. And we've seen this from the Vikings before. And the only thing that could be the demise of the Vikings is the Minnesota Vikings. So that may be something that they have to do. You know, and Rick Spielman may have to make a tough decision. No one wants to give away picks and things of that nature, but you may have to do something to help shore up this offensive line. Daddy Smoke Yam says, what happened to the call-in line? The call-in line will be back tomorrow when we start the divisional breakdowns. Let's see. Take a couple more and we'll get out of here. Cloud says, do you think the AFC will be more competitive this season? I also have high hopes for the Chargers if they're healthy. I do think the AFC. That's why you got to watch my divisional breakdowns because I'm going to tell you, and if you haven't listened to my podcast, then shame on you because I've already talked about where I think all these teams are. Now, again, it was subject to change, and I'll take a look at these schedules and try to, break down and give these teams wins and losses. But at the end of the day, I look at these teams, and I think the AFC North is going to be the biggest winner in 2018 in terms of improvement. The Browns are exponentially better. We can see that already. They're going to win. I already said I think they're going to win 8 games this year. I think the Bengals are going to be good if Andy Dalton can get his shit together. They're going to be a dangerous team. But the Ravens, I think they're the one that you should be worried about. And they're the Patriot slayers. They're the ones that aren't afraid of the New England Patriots. Of all the teams in the AFC conference, that goes for the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. The Steelers, they got a Patriot problem, do the Steelers. The Ravens, however, are the one team, when they're good, they can beat New England. New England, they've got the kryptonite. So that's the one team I look at and I say, look out. And the Chargers are not to be slept on. I told you how I feel about the Chargers watching them. I want to see more, but the Chargers are interesting because that AFC West is, unlike past years, it's wide open now because I always thought the Chiefs were the better team in that division. Now with Patrick Mahomes, and they're going to miss Alex Smith. They're going to regret doing that initially. Eventually, over time, Patrick Mahomes is going to prove to be a guy that they drafted and moved up in the draft to get, and he's going to be outstanding for them, I think. But initially, they're going to take a step backwards. And so that opens up the door for a team like the Chargers. Greg Sasa says, do you have t-shirts, want to support the channel? I am actually in the process of getting my merch together. Stay tuned for that. I'll have all of the information when it comes down the pipeline. You guys will be the first to know about it. I really appreciate you wanting to support the channel. Sean Mack says, the only rookie QBs that should start day one are Rosen and Darnold. Rosen will not start. Darnold will, in my opinion. And I really think that Josh Allen, if he shows well in preseason game number 3, I think the Bills are leaning towards starting him as well. BE says, it's amazing what a starting O-line can do for a quarterback when the center can get the QB the ball, but damn, that TD catch from Kirk was amazing. Don't tell anybody, but DJ is back, baby. That catch was outstanding in traffic. The throw was just as good. I mean, first of all, that wasn't an easy throw. Like, I don't even know why he decided to pull the trigger on that. He wasn't open. And to make the throw in the position where he made it, on the move, stepping up in the pocket, and the catch by Christian Kirk in traffic, taking a shot, boy, that was a thing of beauty. That was beautiful. So, you know what? Cloud says, how can we listen to your podcast? There's a million ways to get the podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts. Just type in Louie T Network. It's on Google Music Play. Just type in Louie T Network. It's on Stitcher, Louie T Network. And it's on the website, louietnetwork.net. And So no excuse not to get the podcast. New episode should be coming out this week. I'm finally getting my life together now that the draft wrap-up series is done. I can start to get back to the fundamentals. And so I'm back like cook crack. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining me. Tomorrow, remember, 8 p.m. NFC East divisional breakdown to kick off the series, as we will get through all 8 divisions over the next couple of weeks as we get ready and prepare for the 2018 regular season. We'll start out with the NFC East. The next team up will be the AFC East. Full schedule coming at you tomorrow. I'll see you guys then. Have a good one. Thank you once again for joining me on this quick Week 2 preseason rundown. I'm your man, Louie T. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. Make sure you share the video. I'm your man, Louie T. See you guys next time. Louie T.